Hi guys, we are in Unit 6 and I am super excited for this unit. This is going to get good because this really has the potential to change your life if you start applying the things we're going to learn in this unit. It's got some good stuff in it. So we're actually on challenge 3 in the book. It's Unit 6, so we do our units a little bit differently than the chapters in the book because we have some preparatory units, but it's called Choose Your Leader. And the reason that this is so important is because once we understand who we're following, it helps us align those motives with where we actually want to go. And so we've been talking about motives, and we've been talking about, how do you make sure that you're motivated by love, and it takes practice, right? So we constantly find ourselves kind of being motivated by this and then motivated by that, and then I want to be motivated by love. That's my goal. So it's really easy to kind of go one way or the other, but if we know who we're following, then it's a lot easier to stay on track, to stay focused. So all good leaders know how to follow and learn from someone who has more wisdom or knowledge or has had more experience than they have in whatever area. And as I was gathering stories for my book, and as I read stories to my kids about people who I really admire and who have made the biggest impact on me and on the world, it's people who have chosen to follow God or a principle of love that He personified. And so that's who the kind of heroes that I'm going to be talking about, and a lot of the quotes I'm going to have are from people who have chosen to follow someone who is motivated by love. Now, everybody who has made an impact for good in the world has had to face some challenges. And some of them have been chosen, some of them have come upon them, but they've all had to challenge themselves. And that's what makes them amazing. And so one of my favorites is General George Washington. I just think he was an incredible man, and he just was so focused on being led by love that he just exuded that to everyone, and people wanted to follow him. And one of the things he said, one of my favorite quotes he gave is, no man has a more perfect reliance on the all-wise and powerful dispensations of the Supreme Being than I have, nor thinks his aid more necessary. And because of his reliance he had on God, he was able to do what everyone said was impossible and lead the American troops to victory in the Revolutionary War. And so that is pretty amazing. So again, I am a Christian, and I'm going to be talking about Christ as my leader through this warrior journey we're doing together. And a lot of the people that I use examples from and the books that take quotes from are also going to be talking about God and using Him as their leader. If you are not, then I just encourage you to find someone that you just believe is an embodiment of love and that just loves everyone around them, is just very, very motivated by this love, and exudes that and makes you want to follow them because they are so loving. Today I'm going to be talking a lot about God in this particular unit because it's all about choosing our leader. And so I believe it is our trust in Him that allows us to choose Him as our leader. That's how we show that we've chosen Him. He's already chosen us as someone worth leading. To exemplify what that looks like in our everyday life and how we can translate that to our actions, I like to use rubber bands, and I didn't have any, so I'm using these headbands, so it's going to be a little bit trickier for me to do. But what this looks like is that this is us, like his finger right here, and then this is God, and this rubber band represents His grace, and it's this constant pressure that's always pulling us to Him. It's like this pull. His love is just this pull that constantly is trying to get us to turn to Him and get closer to Him. And then there's also an opposing force that's pulling us away from Him, trying to get us to go in a different direction. And these two forces are always there, pulling us one way or the other. The way that we determine which way we're being pulled isn't by our own efforts or by how much we get done, but it's by our focus. Whatever way we're facing is the way we're going to be being pulled. It's our focus that determines which way we're headed. And so we need to make goals that make us focused on Christ, because if we're focused on anything else, we're being pulled in a different direction. Any other focus is going to take us somewhere else. And a lot of times our goals become a focus that takes us in a different direction, and that's where perfectionism comes in, and the feelings of guilt and all these other things, because our goals have become what we're trying to pull ourselves towards, and that's not what we want. So we got to make sure that all of our goals are centered on that, remembering Him and remembering that focus. And so today we're going to turn our current stories into truth statements by aligning them with God, by saying, okay, this is my leader, this is who I've chosen, and when I'm with Him, I am this. And so they're kind of like I am statements, but they don't have to be. They can just be a truth about that particular goal. And so, for example, one of my rise up goals right now is to stop being addicted to sugar, to stop eating it. And the current story I'm telling myself right now about that is that it's not a big deal once in a while, that it's everywhere during the holidays, so it's just too hard to do it during the holidays. That I can do it in moderation. As long as I just eat a little bit, I should be okay. But because I know myself and I know I don't do moderation very well, once I start eating a little bit, I seem to just, my experience has taught me that I just can't do that. I'm just an all or nothing kind of person. And so it's not true. I'm just kind of telling myself the story, but it's not a true story. And so knowing who I am and knowing who I follow and that I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ, I can change that current story to a truth statement that reminds me of him. And so I could say something like, I like sugar, but God gave me this incredible, miraculous gift called a body, and I want to show him my gratitude for it by respecting it and by putting good things in it that will keep it healthy so that I can have the energy to do the work that he needs me to do on this earth. So as I start reciting this truth statement and remembering it and memorizing it, whenever I start to see sugar in the future, I'm going to have that truth statement come into my mind, and it's going to remind me of my why, and it's going to focus me on what I really want instead of just reminding me of a goal I have about being skinny or whatever else. That usually isn't going to do the trick for me. But if I have a deep-seated why and I have that focus on my Savior who gives me strength, then I am much more able. I have that grace that pulls me in the right direction instead of pulling me away from him. So that's what these truth statements do for us. They focus us, they help us remember why we're doing this, and give us a strength to move forward with these things. And it doesn't mean we're going to be perfect, but it does mean that we'll practice more and more being pulled in the right direction and focusing on the right things. And the more that we practice that turning in that direction, the better and better we get at it. And that's what this is for. Again, it's not for perfection. We're not going to just write our truth statements and be perfect overnight, but we're going to start practicing and remembering that focus and remembering to turn in that direction more and more so we get better and better at it. Next thing you're going to do is you can print or write in your journal the truth statements that are going to go along with each of your Rise Up goals. So you've already written the goals, you've written your current story. Now you're going to remember your leader, what we talked about today, who you're following, and write truth statements that are in accordance with that. They're going to remind you of your why, remind you of who you're following and why you're doing it. Please let me know if any of this doesn't make sense or if you're having a hard time understanding what I mean. I'm happy to walk you through some and give you some more examples to kind of help guide you as to what these look like. So I'm excited to see what you come up with.